There are some thoughts you believe about yourself for so long that you stop recognizing them as thoughts. You hear them as fear or pain or insecurity or something that has happened to you once and just lodged itself in your body. And you stop hearing them as stories at all. They just start sounding like truth. They start sounding like facts. They start sounding like your own voice. And that's what makes limiting beliefs so dangerous, is because they usually don't show up sounding dramatic. They don't walk in kicking the door saying like, "Hey babe, I'm here to ruin your life." No, they're way sneakier than that. They sound normal, they sound logical, responsible. They sound like the kind of thing you would say to yourself and then nod and be like, "Yeah, yeah, that makes sense." Welcome to the Watch Me podcast. This is a podcast about challenging the stories in your head, breaking mental health stigmas, and refusing to stay in the boxes the world has put you in. My name is Lauren, but you can call me Lo. But today we're going to talk about limiting beliefs because I think some of us have been carrying around this lie, like a lie, for so long, or multiple lies actually, for so long that we stopped questioning them. We stopped just whatever and just calling it who we were. Like limiting beliefs. They sound like I'm not qualified enough. I'm not smart enough for that. I'm just too much. I'm not enough. I always quit. I'm never consistent. I'm too late. I miss my chance. I'm just a mom. It's selfish to want more. I need to get my life together before I start. Maybe that life just isn't for me. That's not something I would do. And after a while, you stop questioning those thoughts. You stop checking in on them. You stop asking where they even came from or whether they're even true. You start building your life around these thoughts. You start making your decisions from inside them. You start shrinking yourself to fit them. You start calling it your personality. You start calling them realism. It's just who I am. And I really think that's how some of us convinced we're stuck. And we've really just been listening to the same lie for so long it started to sound like truth. And that's what I want to talk about today because limiting beliefs are not these cute little mindset problems. They're not just a rough patch in your confidence. They're these kind of thoughts that become the architecture of your life. They decide what you go for and what you don't. They decide what you think you deserve. They decide how visible you let yourself be, how much space you take up, how bold you decide to become, how deeply you trust yourself, and how much of your actual life you're willing to claim. And I know that because I've lived it. Girl, this is a problem I've dealt with. For me, a lot of this started a lot younger than I realized. I did a lot of journaling on this while I was preparing for this podcast episode. And I had a lot of like realizations because I was trying to go back and be like, hey, where did this stem from? And girl, I made it all about way back to third grade. I started believing I was not smart enough. I went to a private school where like brains were just, that's what you were smart, whatever. And if you weren't smart, you weren't cool. And when I started believing I wasn't smart enough, and not because that was ever actually true, but because I didn't fit into that mold of what smart looked like in that school. And then my grades started slipping. Now we're into middle school, right? And my grades started slipping and I could not focus. And I couldn't focus in the way like some of those other kids could. And it felt like everybody got some instruction manual for life that I just somehow missed. And it felt like people were doing things naturally that I had to fight to keep up with. And when you're young, you usually don't have the language to say, maybe my brain works differently, or maybe this system is measuring one kind of intelligence and ignoring a whole lot of other gifts. And you usually don't think that way, especially when you're younger. You make it personal. You make it mean something to you. You think, I'm behind. I'm dumb. I mean, at this point, I'm what? 12. I only have this much of a vocabulary. I'm dumb. I'm behind. I don't what they have. Something must be wrong with me. And then life just keeps adding receipts to that lie. I tried out for choir and I didn't make it. I suck at singing, by the way. But back then, like, I thought I was the best. And we all think we were going to be on American Idol at some point. And then I tried out for the plays and I didn't get that. And then you get laughed at, you get rejected, you get overlooked. You compare yourself to everybody around you because they did it. Like, what's wrong with me? You watch all these other people get chosen while you stand there, like, wondering what's wrong with you. Later, maybe you don't get the promotion you thought you deserved. Maybe somebody underestimates you. You might get told directly or indirectly that you're not enough. You're not stable enough. Deal with that. Not polished enough, not serious enough, not whatever enough. And suddenly, it's not that one hard moment when you were a kid anymore. Now it's a story. Now it's your identity. Now it's not just, well, that hurt. Now it's this must mean something about me. This is how limiting beliefs get built. Not all at once, little by little, one painful moment at a time, one rejection, one embarrassment, one failure, one comparison, one opinion, one box handed to you that you never asked for. And mine turned into those beliefs like I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not qualified enough. I'm just a pretty face. I got told that a lot growing up. And I don't even have the prettiest face. It was just like, oh, you're so cute. I would say stupid stuff and they'd be like, oh, it's a good thing you're a pretty face. I got told I was no one special. I'm never going to be consistent and I'm a quitter because I struggle mentally. Maybe I'm not going to be able to do anything big with my life. Maybe people like me we just live mediocre lives. And let me tell you something. If you believe that kind of stuff long enough, it does not just sit quietly in the background like wallpaper. It starts to make those decisions for you. It starts deciding what you try and what you don't try. It starts deciding how hard you go before you put it all back. It starts deciding how visible you let yourself be. And it starts deciding what jobs you apply for, what risks you take, what relationships you trust, what dreams you stay loyal to, and which ones you abandon before they have a chance to even ask more of you. And that's why limiting beliefs are not small. They do not just bruise your confidence. They cost you things. They cost you opportunities. They cost you momentum. They cost you peace. They cost you joy. They cost you time. They cost you a whole version of your life. Because when you believe you're probably going to fail, not trying that feels smart, feels like that's a good choice. Once you believe you're going to fail, not trying feels safe. Once you believe you're not qualified, staying small feels responsible. Once you believe you're too much, you start shrinking and that feels mature. That feels mature to you. Once you believe wanting more makes you selfish, settling starts to feel noble. But make no mistake, it is still settling. It's still the lie winning. And I think this gets even deeper for women because women are handed limiting beliefs all the time. And we're just expected to wear them like they're normal. We get told we are too loud, too emotional, too ambitious, too sensitive, too intense, too intimidating, too much, and all not enough at the same time. And then somehow at the exact same time, we are told we are not enough. Not pretty enough, not soft enough, calm enough, not polished enough, not selfless enough, not successful enough. It is like the whole world hands women this script and then punishes us if we don't read it right. There's a whole monologue in Barbie and it's beautiful and it made me cry, bawled my eyes out because it was so true. And then if you are a mom on top of that, there's a whole extra set of nonsense stacked on top of it. Good moms don't need rest. Good moms don't want more. Good moms don't put themselves first. Good moms should be fully fulfilled by motherhood alone. And good moms should be able to do it all and smile all the way through it. Good moms should not feel restless. Good moms should not want dreams with their own name on them. And no, I reject that fully. I reject it fully. Wanting more does not make you selfish. Needing rest does not make you weak. Having dreams outside motherhood does not make you less loving. It makes you a whole person. I think a lot of women are not actually living from this truth. They are living from this inherited fear. They're living from like old pain and labels and conditioning and old stories they never even stopped to question. And that's where the box comes in for me because this image I keep coming back to is this box when I think about limiting beliefs. Like I want you to picture for a second, 4 walls, bottom, top, lid over your head, and you're in there. And yeah, maybe you can survive in there. Maybe you can move around a little bit. Maybe you can even get used to it that you stop noticing how small it is. But you can't like stretch in there. You can't fully stand. You can't fully become in there. It's tight. It's claustrophobic. It's limited by design. And that's wild how many of us just been living in these boxes. Walls of rejection, a bottom of shame, a wall of fear, comparison, lid of other people's opinions, and then calling those boxes our identity. We declare them, we explain them, we defend them, we say, well, this is just how I am. I know myself. I'm being realistic. I'm just not that kind of person. But sit with this. Follow my vision here. What if that box isn't made of stone? What if it only felt permanent because you had lived in it for so long? What if one day, after years and years of living in this box, you reached your hand up and you touched it and it moved? What if the lid made of stone that you never thought you could, this is where I'm living. I can't step out of the box. This is what the world has put me in. This is where I live now. What if you reached your hand up one day and you touched the lid and it moved? What if you pushed a little harder and it opened and then fresh air hit your face and the sun came in and you stood up fully for the first time in years. And then you lifted one foot out of the box and then the other foot out of the box and found yourself standing outside the very thing you were told you would never leave. That's what it feels like to question a limiting belief. It feels like discovering what you thought was permanent in your reality just was a structure you had been living inside. And that's why I need to say this clearly. Your box is flimsy. It is not made of stone. It may feel old. It may feel familiar. It may feel heavy and cozy. It may feel like the only thing you've ever known. But that does not make it permanent. And honestly, one of the saddest things I can imagine is standing outside of that box one day and realizing you could have tested the lid sooner. Not to shame yourself, not to beat yourself up, but to wake yourself up. To remind yourself that old fear is not a destiny. And though you have that for a long time, you could have thought that for a long time, it doesn't automatically make it true. Familiar doesn't equal factual. You know what I mean? Like pain doesn't get to be this permanent narrator of your life. And for me, that turning point started when I realized that just because something felt true didn't mean it was true. And I know that sounds simple, but it changed everything for me because limiting beliefs are real. They have memories attached to them. They have emotion attached to them. They have patterns and pain. And so of course they feel convincing. Of course they feel like truth because feelings aren't real without always being facts. Feelings are real without always being facts. And once I started to really understand that, I had to start paying attention to what was actually running underneath the surface. I had to notice what I thought showed up. I had to notice what thought showed up when I was triggered. When I made a mistake, when I wanted something bigger, when I felt exposed or rejected or thought of being seen, because your reactions to those things being triggered reveal your root beliefs. If you keep shrinking, there's a belief under that. If you keep over preparing, there is a belief under that. If you keep waiting for permission, there's a belief under that. Or self-sabotaging, overthinking, playing small, talking yourself out of what you actually want. There's beliefs under there. So then I had to question, where did this come from? Who handed me this? Was that person even credible? Was that moment actually proof of something about me? Or was it just a painful moment? I went, I'm going to take that. I'm going to turn that into my identity. Sometimes we take moments. Sometimes we take an opinion of other people and we just go, that's me now. I've decided I'm going to take that. That makes zero sense. How is this belief protecting me? Because yes, that matters too. Some beliefs that are hurting you are also serving you. It protects you from trying. It protects you from failing. Sometimes it protects you from rejection, embarrassment, vulnerability, or being seen. But eventually you have to ask, as much as it's protecting me, what's it costing me? How much peace? How much joy? How many opportunities? How much confidence? How much life is it costing me? Because once I became really honest about that, I knew I couldn't just keep obeying every old thought that walked through my head. I had to start replacing the lie, but not with fake positivity, not with some cheesy sentence that sounded nice in theory, but my body fully rejected. I had to replace it with something true enough to stand on. Things like, I'm capable of learning. I do figure things out. I don't need to be perfect to begin. Wanting more doesn't make me selfish. The right people will embrace me for who I am. Who I am is exactly what this world needs. That's different. That is solid. That is not fluffy. That is not fake confidence. That is truth. And honestly, I think a lot of that shift happened because I started gathering proof. I had to build a case against the lie. I had to remember that okay, the lie is I'm not smart enough. I had to remember that I was successful writing English. I'm great at English. I'm fantastic at English. I had A's in English. I then had to realize like I got jobs and promotions I deserved. I had to remember that I've been asked to teach and speak at conferences. I had to remember that people did come to me for advice, that I had figured things out again and again, that I built a life that once thought it was probably for other people. The belief was not true. The belief that I wasn't good enough or smart enough wasn't true. It was just old. And I think that some of us need to stop giving old beliefs so much authority just because they've been around for so long. Longevity doesn't equal truth. Familiarity doesn't equal accuracy. An old wound doesn't get to keep writing the script for your future. So if you're listening to this and you're realizing you've been living inside one of these boxes, I want to call you a little higher for a minute. Your time is now, not 5 years from now, not when you're more healed, not when you're more polished, not when your life is quieter, not when you finally feel ready, not when someone chooses you first. It's now. It's now. The time for you to be okay with being great. No matter what box your parents put you in, what society put you in, what your past put you in, or what you put yourself in. Because when you feel like no one is watching, you are wrong. There's one person that is watching, and it's your future self. She is watching you right now, begging you to make a change. begging you to show some guts, begging you to stop calling fear your personality, and begging you to stop living this trial version of your life. And yes, that line hits me too. Stop living the trial version of your life. You know, when you have a phone app and you go to download this app you wanted, and it's like, hey, free for 7 days before you get to premium. And you're like, it's fine. I'll just do the free version. Your life, treating your life like that. And you have to unlock this premium version of your life that you don't even know exists, because the app is so much better when you unlock this premium version. You get access to everything. Because I really do think a lot of us are out there living on this free version of life, living edited and diluted and careful and half inside these flimsy cardboard boxes that we think are made of stone that are actually just cardboard that wash away in the rain. And they're boxes we don't fit in anymore. And I don't want that for you. I don't want that for me. I want you to take up the space you were given. I want you to stop making your identity fit the moods of the people around you, their insecurities, their projections. I want you to stop calling self-betrayal humility. Stop dragging your old lies into these new chapters, because maybe the reason you feel restless is not because you're asking for too much. Maybe it's become some part of you. There's that part of you that knows you were made for more, that you were made for more than the box. And maybe that's the invitation here, not to become somebody else, but to finally question the lie, to finally test the lid, to finally step out, because you don't break a limiting belief by arguing with it once. You break it by living against it. You break it by showing up anyway. You break it by gathering proof. You break it by taking one step outside the box, and then another, until the thing that once defined your whole life, it's still part of your story maybe, but it's no longer your home. So if this episode is hitting you somewhere deep, I want you to sit with one question before you move on with your day. What belief have you been treating like truth just because you've heard it for so long? What box have you been living in without ever checking if the lid moves? And who would you be if you finally pushed it open? Because I really believe this, that not every belief you carry deserves to come with you into your next chapter. Some of those were built in pain. Some of them were handed to you by people that should never had that authority over your life. Some of those beliefs were from your upbringing, from your parents, their political views, your lifestyle when you were growing up as a child. Those are things that never should have had that much authority over you. And some of them served a version of you that was just trying to survive. When you're a kid and those limiting beliefs are handed to you, you don't have a say in them. You don't know any different. And that's not the same thing as living. Surviving is not living. And you were not meant to spend your whole life inside this lie. And I want to end this way, the way I would want someone to say it to me. I love you. I am proud of you, and I believe in you. And I know you might have trouble loving yourself right now and being proud of yourself or believing in yourself, and that's okay. Until you can do it on your own, use my love and my pride and my belief and go out and kill it today. See you next week.